Are you hearing my voice? Okay, right. In the last class, we had a discussion over the peasant revolts. The peasant revolts, particularly in the Madras presidency, and we had a discussion over the Mopla rebellion, and also before that, various agrarian movements which taken place in Bengal. And before that, we had a description of our teenage struggles. Okay, so all these are the certain concepts we discussed in the last class. And today we are going to see about these peasant struggles which taken place particularly in the South India. Okay, South India in the sense particularly in the three or four states, like the movements which taken place in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Telangana and Andhra basically. Okay, so here we'll start these uh, uh, these concepts today, and first of all, in South India, there have been strong peasant movements, particularly in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and the Telangana region. Okay, so on the eve of Indian independence, the Communist Party, which mobilized the peasantry in Telugu-speaking areas in the Telangana region and Telangana region of Hyderabad state, um, um, which is which was a part and parcel of India's movement, Indian independence movement at the time, and the majority of the people were Hindus under the rule of notorious Muslim rulers. Okay, so basically, Nizam was the ruler at that time, who was a ruler for the entire Hyderabad state. Okay, so was not willing to move with the political current in accepting the democratic rights of the people are joining in the Indian Union. Okay, so this reluctance facilitated the mobilization of the vast majority of these peasants under leadership of Communist Party, which received sanctuary for its activities in the neighboring Indian territory. And the course of the struggle covered 2,000 villages and the area of 15,000 square miles, with a population of 4 million and peasantry army of 5,000. Okay, so even though this movement was originally organized to fight the Nizam, and it did not cease its operations at Hyderabad, was occupied by the Indian Army, which essentially met the primary demand of the movement. Okay, so rather it carried on its war of liberation, this time directing its forces against the Indian government. By 1951, the activities were completely suppressed, and the Communist Party of India had to revise its policies. Okay, so and you are well aware that many leaders Chandra Rajeshwar Rao and many leaders, you are well aware that they are actively participated in this Telangana armed struggle by the by support of Communist Party of India at that time. Okay, so and this when you see certain statement regarding this Telangana armed struggle by Rajeshwar Rao, the leader of the movement at the time. Factors like the relative level of economic development, a fairly well developed communication system, a centralized and well organized administrative system, and the existence of strong bourgeoisie party with immense popularity made the success of insurgency difficult in India. Okay, so when you see in Tamil Nadu, the main center of peasant activity is Tanjavur district. Even though the Communist Party of India has been making efforts to carve out a following in all parts of the state, and some measures of success has been achieved only in East Tanjavur, where it was able to organize sharecroppers and agricultural laborers. Um, agricultural laborers was an important condition that facilitated unionization in Tanjavur. Since the 30s, the agricultural laborers, agricultural laborer unions and tenant associations have carried out a number of agitations in Tanjavur for advancing wage rates, improving working conditions, regulating tenancy, and other benefits. And they have led to many favorable legislations. The widespread activities of agricultural labor unions, tenant associations, and farmer organizations in Kerala have drawn the attention of many scholars, basically. Okay, so strong organization of agricultural laborers. When you see strong organization of agricultural laborers, has emerged in Palagat and Aleppi, and tenants are strongly organized in districts of Kannanur, Kozhikode, and Palagat, which were the former Malabar district of Madras Presidency. Okay, so and farmers organizations have emerged as a reaction of labor unions. There have been not many reports of peasant movements in the states of Karnataka, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Orissa are reviewing the status of peasants organization in India. The membership of all peasant associations in India taken together would be slightly less than 5% of estimated number of the rural poor. So this shows how the weak the organization in rural India. Okay, so even this small membership is distributed very unevenly. Okay, so and much of it's concentrated in the states of West Bengal, Punjab, and Kerala. In other states, it distributed over small pockets such as Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, and in large areas of India, there is hardly any peasant association. Okay, so the examination of the peasant movements in India thus reveals here the two things. One on the one in the one hand, one in the hand, it indicates the limited progress that has been achieved in organizing the peasantry, even in more than 4 decades of effort. On the other hand, the development of peasant groups in some areas implies that organizing the peasantry, although difficult, is not impossible. Okay. So when you see particularly this peasant struggle in Telangana, um, peasant struggle in Telangana basically, in peasant movements in Bengal, Bihar, United Provinces, and other regions, land to the tiller to a popular slogan seemed to be a remote idea. And the peasants did not try to seize land. Okay, so it was in Telangana region in modern region in Hyderabad state that Kisan Sabha gave its blessings to the expropriation of landlords by a peasant revolution. All the evidences points to the emergence of Kisan Sabha as a powerful force in the countryside in 1946 to 47, and it seems that the circumstances were favorable for rapid advance of the Kisan Sabha in this region. When you see Hyderabad, one of the largest native state, had three linguistic regions. You are well known. Telangana, comprising of nine districts of Telugu-speaking people. Marathwada, where the majority of the people spoke Marathi, and three districts of Kannada-speaking. Okay, so here you find certain complex conditions basically. Okay, so where Urdu was language of the administration, and the Hindus who formed the majority of population hardly found employment in superior government service, and the Nizam had maintained a monarchical system based mainly on the support of feudal landlords. Okay, so during in the 1930s, you are well known that Ittihadul Muslim grew up as a communal organization which proclaimed its vow to fight to the last to maintain the supremacy of the Muslim power in Deccan. So in 1930, Andhra Mahasabha was formed, which gradually developed as a political platform of rising middle class. And the prominent leaders of the Mahasabha, like Ravinarayan Reddy, Baddam Yella Reddy, who came from the landlord families, even though they come from the landlord families, but took a prominent part in developing the Andhra Mahasabha as a radical organization. And these leaders, along with the progressive elements, joined the communist movement during 1940 and 42. Okay, so at the 11th session of Andhra Mahasabha, which held at Bongiri in 1944, the Mahasabha virtually passed under the control of radical elements, and Ravinarayan Reddy writes that Bongiri conference demoralized the rightists. Okay, so the and created a great deal of enthusiasm among the youth. Indeed, the Mahasabha played a crucial role in shaping the democratic movement in Hyderabad. In 1938, the state congress in which Govindrao Nanal and Ramananda Tirtha were active launched a satyagraha when the Nizam banned the singing of Vande Mataram. And it seems that state congress came to fore in Hyderabad politics in 1947. Okay, so all this which played a great important role, basically role in the Telangana armed struggle, where these directly which boost these Telangana peasants who are fighting against the atrocities of Nizam and atrocities of subordinates of Nizam like Deshpandes and Deshmukhs. Okay, so this Andhra Mahasabha and Andhra Mahasabha and communist parties, both given a great boost to these Telangana peasants at that time. Okay, so finally, we cannot say is it failure or success, but some mobilization has taken place, and the voice from the lower strata, basically the voice from the below, which is you definitely you observe here. Okay, so basically the majority of the people who are the peasants, basically landless peasants, and also uh, the small peasants who have 2 to 3 acres of the land, and they played a great role in the Telangana army struggle with the support of this Andhra Mahasabha, basically, which is a great part and parcel of Communist Party of India. Okay, so and not only that, many state Congress leaders also supported this movement, even though had a ban during at that time, ban on various leaders of state Congress. Their role also uh, you may aware. Okay, so when you see we'll discuss about this Telangana army struggle very descriptively in further classes. Okay, so it's a idea. We are giving certain idea on this certain peasant movements basically. Okay, when you see the Maratha peasant awakening, and with equal fury and fervor rose the Maratha peasants in the same generation against the oppression of moneylenders, and they could not brook the idea of obedience to the new laws, which gave such coercive powers to moneylenders that any moneylender could, with impunity, move a court to imprison anyone of his peasant debtors. So they revolted, burned the houses, destroyed other properties of moneylenders, killed many such oppressors, and even attacked the government officials who were supporting their oppressors. Okay, so when you see the South India inferment, and similarly, when you see in Telugu speak region, basically in the coastal area. Okay, so similarly, the Krishna and Godavari Delta peasants and the Karnataka and Rayalaseema peasants too revolted several times from the beginning of 19th century to protest against the exorbitant land revenue exactions and the neglect of irrigation facilities and extortionate method of tax collection. Okay, so when you see Lakshmi Narasimha, which is a great leader from this Andhra, coastal region of Andhra, as a part and parcel of this Madras presidency. And Lakshmana Sethi organized a grand constitutional agitation against Madras Torches Act and succeeded in getting it repealed. And this saved the South Indian peasants from being put to several cruel and inhuman tortures for failure to pay taxes. Okay, so the South Indian peasants resorted to their ancestral method of satyagraha by abandoning their lands and villages. Okay, so a method of satyagraha adopted by Lohara peasants in 1936 and by those of Orissa state in 1939. Okay, with much less source. And these abandoning their villages and migrating to the neighboring Indian states or even British districts. Okay, so since peasant solidarity was so great in those days, and also since the cultivation of the land under the then prevailing tax burdens, such as a unwelcome task, none could go and occupy their lands and houses, and government had to climb down and agree to a reduction of their tax burdens in order to pursue them to return to their lands and villages. Okay, so students, are you hearing? Yeah, right. So when I see the Kisan organizations, which organized by the Communist Party, and we shall see, we shall briefly refer to the principal movements organized by major left parties through their Kisan organizations in recent years, and as well as that several Kisan movements have been organized in India. Okay, so the Kisan movements, such as the Indigo movement in Bihar and Bengal, and Mopla rebellion in Malabar and Kerala, the Tebaga movement in Bengal, and Telangana armed struggle in Hyderabad state, and the Naxalite movement in West Bengal, Bihar, and Andhra region are a few mention about the peasant movements. And as the Kisan movements in India spread throughout the country, they had their heyday in Andhra Pradesh too. And the Kisan agitation in Andhra had long history of 1.5 centuries, and the Andhra tribes had revolted against the British government in very beginning when they tried to impose some limits on them. They also revolted against the police officials, contractors, money lenders, and landlords. Okay. So thus the taluk and district level kisan movements taken up by some individuals finally helped in establishing the Kisan Sangh. Okay, so the Kisan Sangh of 1922 in Andhra and the formation of Jamin Raitu in 1929 and Agricultural Laborer Union of 1937, which belongs to these categories, the Kisan organization categories. Okay, so the Jamindars thus levied heavy taxes on the farmers and converted them into somewhat as serfs or slaves. Okay, so and the inhuman attitude of Jamindars towards the farmers were unbearable as a protest and a discontentment to their real attitude, and farmers hesitated throughout Andhra at that time. Okay, so in the post-independence period, the peasant movement in Andhra region, which inherited to a heavy backlog of problems from the pre-independence period and was confronted by new ones, and the division between the communists led Andhra Provincial and Right Sangam, which is NG Ranga led Andhra Provincial Kisan Congress, continued to the weaken the movement, and the Andhra Provincial Kisan Congress was more active than the Right Sangam. But even farmer functioned well only in half a dozen of districts, and it was handicapped by high fluctuations of membership, lack of funds, and ideological conflicts among the leadership. Okay, so and the Kisan Sangam, to a large extent, lacked formal organizations and functioned through a series of conferences. It restricted its attention to the problem of rich and middle peasant sections. Okay, so with the creation of separate organization for several laborers by the Communist Party of India in 1945, namely Andhra Provincial Vyavasaya Karmika Sangam, APVKS, and whole problem of maintaining riot agricultural worker harmony is persisted. Okay, so the Communist Party was still committed to the ideal of United Peasant movement for purpose of political strategy, where its ideology warranted a militant line for the promotion of interests of poor peasants and agricultural labor. Its policy ultimately caused the party unflinching support of lower peasantry. So the peasants depend on the government rather than on the peasant organizations for the solutions of their problems in the post-independence period. And the government endured with necessary powers and resources was expected to strive for the fulfillment of their material desires, receiving as it did its authority from their votes. Okay, so this naturally reduced peasant participation in the activities sponsored by peasant organizations in Andhra. Okay, so uh, when you see certain farmer movements in India, uh, the farmers in India had to undergo great struggle in all the states to stop exploitation by jagirdars and jamindars. And some of the movements were successful, but others, some of them were failed. Okay, so the Kisan Sabha movement started in Bihar. So, under the leadership of Swami Sahajanand Saraswati, who had formed in 1929, and the Bihar Provincial Kisan Sabha, in order to mobilize peasant grievances against the Jamindari attacks on their occupancy rights. Okay, so gradually the peasant movement intensified and spread across the rest of India. All these radical movements on peasant front culminated in formation of All India Kisan Sabha at Lucknow session for Indian National Congress. Um, Indian National Congress um, in April 1936 with Swami Sahajanand elected as its first president. And the farmer movement also started in 1907 under the leadership of Sardar Ajit Singh, and in 1921 under Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel were success. Both others such as the revolts in Chauri Chaura and Awadh, Mopla were the great loss. Okay, so when you see the same movements which is continued in other parts like the Punjab or like that. Okay, so when you see the such movements, which in which movement such movements started in Punjab, like it was in Punjab that India's first farmers movement emerged. The role played by Gadar party led by Raja Mahendra Pratap in the political awakening of India was an important setup. Okay, so the Sikhs of Punjab were the first to migrate to the United States and Canada in 19th century. And okay, we'll see these movements in Punjab in tomorrow's class. And this is about to my uh, lecture on today, and I will give you some further explanation over these movements, farmer movements in Punjab and other Punjab regions like Haryana, like that, and we'll see these things tomorrow. Okay, so um, students, this is the end of my class, and I will meet you tomorrow at the same time. Okay. So, are you hearing, students? Are you hearing? Okay. Right. I am ending my class now. I will give you about farmer movements in Punjab and other parts tomorrow. Right.